So we are reading Water by Dr. Batman Gilich. We are on chapter 13, page number 173 of the PDF.
Minerals are vital. Certain minerals need to pass through the acidic environment of the stomach before they can be absorbed through the mucosa of the intestine. They are zinc, magnesium, manganese, selenium, iron, copper, chromium, and molybdenum.
So again, these are trace minerals, right? There are actually, I think, 38 or 39 of them. He's listed a few of them over here.
The list is in the order, in my view, of each element's importance to the human body. The mineral elements that the body needs in largest quantities are sodium, potassium, calcium, and magnesium. Sodium will enforce the osmotic needs and balance of the fluid environment outside and around the cells of the body. Vitally important to brain function. If someone overhydrates and forces salt out of the body without replacing it, the brain cells will gradually swell up. The person could suffer brain damage and die.
So now this is important. This is an important point he's made over here. Basically, what he's saying is that the hydration must not be too much and not too little, right? If you start having too much water, then also it's a problem. So you have to manage the water in a proper manner.
This happens from time to time if people exercise regularly, sweat profusely, and lose salt, and then keep on drinking only water without replacing the lost salt.
So again, very important, salt has to be replaced in the body system. So salt is very important. Many times people go on salt-free diets. According to this, what he's saying over here, it's not a very good idea.
This happens from time to time if people exercise regularly, sweat profusely, and lose salt, and then keep on drinking only water without replacing the lost salt. As I have said repeatedly, salt is not bad for you. It does not raise the blood pressure. It is the insufficiency of other minerals that normally hold on to and keep water inside the cells that causes a rise in blood pressure. Given in conjunction with other minerals, salt will actually lower blood pressure to normal levels.
So again, very contrary to the normal allopathic paradigm, right? Anyone with blood pressure, the first thing they say is reduce salt intake.
Potassium, calcium, magnesium, and zinc are the main minerals that regulate the water levels inside the cells. These elements are needed to keep the interior of the cells in the body in osmotic balance and in good working order. These are the elements that work with sodium to keep blood pressure in its normal range.
So again, these minerals, right, are very important for the management of the water inside the body.
All one-a-day vitamins supplements are now composed in such a way that the daily requirements of the essential minerals other than sodium, calcium, and potassium are provided. The rest of the vital minerals are fully available in the variety of foods we eat. Vitamin and mineral supplements are thus recommended for insurance in case your daily diet is not high quality and contains insufficient fruits and vegetables.
So again, very important, right? Variety of food, because the more variety of food you eat, the better chances of getting a full range of the minerals and vitamins that we require.
The toxic mineral elements are mercury, lead, aluminium, arsenic, cadmium, and in large quantities, iron. These minerals should be avoided. They are absorbed better by the body if the stomach is less acidic than normal.
So again, the stomach has to be acidic, right? So these chemicals get absorbed if the stomach is in an alkaline state. Now over here, aluminium is again connected with Alzheimer's, etc. That's what we read in the book, right? So cooking in aluminum utensils is a very big no-no.
As we grow older, some of us manufacture less and less acid in our stomachs. The condition is called achlorohydria. People with achlorohydria can become deficient of vital minerals in their bodies. They also have difficulty in digesting meat.
So again, if less acid is produced in the stomach, then naturally the food that we are eating or the dense food, proteins, etc., that we eat can become a problem to break up.
In older cultures, eating pickles with food was a precautionary measure to prevent this problem. The use of vinegar in salads eaten with meals has the same effect. If the salad dressing is sour in taste, if the meal contains a lot of meat, the stomach normally secretes plenty of acid to break down the meat into small digestible particles. These smaller particles are then further reduced to the size of the amino acid components in the intestines and gets absorbed. People who have difficulty digesting food should get into a habit of taking some lemon or pickles with their food.
So this is why many people have started taking lemon shots after their meal, right? So they'll squeeze the lime and have the whole juice in one shot. Also pickles, right? Pickles are also probiotics. That's why in the Indian culture there was a lot of pickles. Achar जिसको बोलते हैं, achars were made and always we consumed achar with our food. This was one of the reasons.
A good pickle for this purpose would be finely chopped cauliflower, green tomatoes, carrots, celery, onion, mushrooms, eggplants, and cabbage with salt and pepper. The ingredients should be put in a jar covered with a good vinegar and left for a few days to season. When eaten, the small vinegar-soaked particles will mix with the food in the stomach and acidify the immediate vicinity for the enzymes to become activated for digestion. Middle Eastern food markets have these kinds of pickled foods available for ready use.
So again, in our culture also, we have this kanji ka achar bolte hain, where you actually put kanji, I think it's made out of mustard, where you put vegetables in it and you allow it to ferment, right? And then you eat it with the food. So that's another way of getting this entire thing. They're calling it pickle over here. It's called kanji. You have the kanji ka bada also, right? Basically, instead of the bada, you put the vegetables in it.
Salt is a vital substance for the survival of all living creatures, particularly humans, and especially people with asthma, allergies, and autoimmune disease. Salt is a medication that has been used by healers throughout the ages. In certain cultures, it is worth its weight in gold and is in fact exchanged weight for gold. In desert countries, people know that salt intake is their insurance for survival. To these people, salt mines are synonymous with gold mines. After many years of salt being bad-mouthed by ignorant health professionals and their media parrots, the importance of salt as a dietary supplement is once again being acknowledged and recognized. I was one of the early voices bringing about this change.
So again, salt, again, it's not very, very popular, but again, anyone who has blood pressure, the doctors always tell them avoid salt, right? So this thing has not yet percolated down into the systems yet.
Water, salt, and potassium together regulate the water content of the body. Water regulates the water content of the interior of the cell by working its way into all the cells it reaches. It has to get there to cleanse and extract the toxic waste of cell metabolism.
So again, water is the ultimate cleanser, right? If water is not there, the waste management system of the body will not really work.
Once water gets into the cells, the potassium content of the cells holds on to it and keeps it there, to the extent that potassium is available inside the cells. Even in the plant kingdom, it is potassium in the fruit that gives it firmness, by holding water in the interior of the fruit. Our daily food contains ample potassium from its natural sources of fruits and vegetables, but not salt from its natural source. That is why we need to add salt to our daily diet. Note, do not take too much potassium as a dietary supplement. It could cause trouble.
So again, too much of anything becomes a problem. So, right, if you have too much of potassium in the body, it can land up creating a problem, right? So many times what happens is, I think bananas have one of the highest content of potassium. So then if you're consuming too much of bananas, then again, it can become an issue.
Salt forces some water to keep it company outside the cells, osmotic retention of water by salt. It balances the amount of water that is held outside the cells. Basically, there are two oceans of water in the body. One is held inside the cells of the body, and the other is held outside. Good health depends on a most delicate balance between the volumes of these two oceans. This balance is achieved by the regular intake of water, potassium-rich fruits and vegetables that also contain the vitamins needed by the body, and salt. Unrefined sea salt, which contains some of the other minerals that the body needs, is preferable. Sea salt may not contain enough iodine to keep the thyroid gland working normally, and it may enlarge into a goiter. Regular intake of a multivitamin that contains iodine is essential. Another source of iodine is dried kelp capsules, which are available from vitamin shops.
So again, uh, sea salt has a lot of minerals, right? Now, processed salt, they take out everything, only pure NaCl, only pure salt is left. Of course, now because of the gout and all that, most of the manufactured salt has added iodine, right? So it's a good idea to actually have a mix of manufactured salt and sea salt in your diet so that the iodine required can come from the manufactured salt and rest of the trace minerals which are required can come from the sea salt.
Nikki, 1 minute.
Hmm.
Nowadays, after everybody started having the Tata salt, the thyroid conditions are becoming worse. And there are more people having thyroid with this
Acha.
iodized salt. Yeah.
I have no idea about that, but iodine is required. So you see, you can all, it may be the other cause may be that the other minerals are not coming into the system. No?
I know they're all now saying not to have either have rock salt or sea salt and not have the iodized salt.
No, so that's, but you need iodine. Na? Where are you going to get iodine from?
I know, but I don't think this salt, this Tata salt or the packet salt has got the iodine in it. It just advertised that way.
No, Chachi, but I was told that because we are not having enough iodine, that because even I have thyroid, but because we don't have enough
No, but
iodine.
I'm not talking about iodine. I'm talking about the iodized salt, which they are advertising.
Yeah, but where else will you get iodine? He's saying over here, na, you'll get it from kelp capsules or with the iodine which is mixed in the salt. So where are we going to get iodine from? That's the main thing, which is causing can cause thyroid issues. But again, there may be so many multifarious reasons because of all this. This needs to be studied then. Yes, Usha ji.
Another thing I heard is actually this iodine, adding it in the salt and being sold, the iodized salt, is a big scam because apparently when you open the packet, the iodine evaporates.
Oh, okay. So then it's useless actually.
Absolutely useless. And actually, people on the plains don't need as much salt because we get it in other forms. They need it in the hills.
Okay.
So just selling iodized salt across India doesn't really solve the problem.
No, but if you are saying, because I have no idea about this, but if you're saying that when you open the packet, it evaporates, then there's nothing left. Now, then what's the point? Then you might as well use rock salt or sea salt. That's a better idea then.
Yes. Yeah, Nikki ji,
Yeah, Shilpa,
I
you
have
want
to add that the iodine that is, even though they say it's mixed in the iodized salt, is a synthetic iodine, and actually it is not easy for body to absorb that. So
Okay.
overdose of iodine most of the time can also cause to the thyroid issue. So when we speak, or a lot of people who follow the Ayurveda and they practice Ayurveda, they say ki you stop iodized salt and switch to the rock salt. And most
Okay.
of the time you see the thyroid issues are resolved rather than
Okay.
increased.
Okay. Great.
Probably what you are saying is also correct. The other minerals makes a lot of sense.
Correct. The other minerals will make a lot of difference.
Yeah.
That's the other reason why we say, that RO water is not good. That's what he said he's not said it so much, but the RO water is actually not good
Correct.
for us. But you can use,
dropping all the minerals.
you put RO water into a matka, that earthenware pot. So the minerals get absorbed from the earthenware pot and then you consume it. So that may be a good idea. Yes, Usha ji.
So actually, this RO water has been banned in Delhi, from what I gather.
Yeah, it was banned, then the Supreme Court again, I think, reversed it or something like that. There was some, so they are increasing the TDP of the minerals in the water and then supplying.
So
They say the added mineral.
Yeah, and then they are adding minerals also.
So actually, the sea salt has all the right proportions.
Correct.
And
Yeah.
so that's better, and maybe Himalayan salt too, because finally Himalayan salt is sea,
Yeah, it was sea.
yeah,
It was
sea
a
salt.
sea at some time.
Yeah.
Great. Shivangla, you're muted.
When water is not available to get into the cells freely, it is filtered from the outside salty ocean and injected into the cells that are being overworked despite their water shortage. This secondary and emergency means of supplying important cells with injected water is the reason in severe dehydration that we retain salt and develop edema. To have more water available to draw from for filtration and injection into the cells.
So again, edema is caused due to dehydration, right? The water gets retained in the body because there is not enough water available in the body. And I have seen this in my feet had actually swollen up. I couldn't wear my shoes because my feet were not fitting in my shoes, right? I increased my water intake and the swelling reduced. So edema is caused due to dehydration. This is something that we need to understand. Again and again, this is my big fight with the normal doctors. Whenever there's edema, they'll tell you to reduce water. But actually, you need to slightly increase the water intake so that the edema gets eradicated.
The design of our bodies is such that the extent of the ocean of water outside the cells is expanded to have extra water in reserve for filtration and emergency injection into vital cells. To achieve this, the brain commands an increase in salt and water retention by the kidneys. This directive of the brain is the reason we get edema and we don't drink enough water.
So the kidney is not allowing the water to get ejected when there is a dehydration signal in the body. Now, what do? We take diuretics and then we want to get the water out of the body. So you are fighting against the mechanism of the body, which is wanting to protect itself. So the simple solution is increase water intake.
When water shortage in the body reaches a more critical level and delivery of water by its injection into the cells becomes the main route of supply to more and more cells, an associated rise in injection pressure becomes necessary. The significant rise in pressure needed to inject water into the cells becomes measurable and is labeled hypertension or high blood pressure.
So again, the cause of high blood pressure is again dehydration, not enough water available in the system so that the pressure needs to be increased so that the water can get into the cells.
Initially, the process of water filtration and its delivery into the cells is more efficient at night when the body is horizontal. In this position, the collected water, which settles mostly in the legs during the day, does not have to fight the force of gravity to get into the blood circulation. If reliance on this process of emergency, hydration of some cells continues for long, the lungs begin to get waterlogged at night and breathing becomes difficult. The person needs more pillows to sit upright to sleep. This condition is called cardiac asthma, and it is the consequence of dehydration. However, in this condition, you must not overload the system by drinking too much water at the beginning. Increases in water intake must be slow and spaced out until urine production begins to increase at the same rate that you drink water.
So now this again becomes very important. Increasing water intake drastically in one shot is never a good idea. We need to slow and steady increase the water intake so that the body gets used to processing that much of water.
When we drink enough water to pass clear urine, we also pass out a lot of the salt that was held back. This is how we get rid of edema fluid from the body, not by diuretics, but by more water. Water is the best natural diuretic that exists.
So this is something we already talked about. When water gets injected into the cells, the salt is left behind, right? And then that accumulates the water. So if you increase water intake, the excess salt gets eliminated from the urine through the urine process.
In a person who has extensive edema and whose heart sometimes beats irregularly or rapidly with little effort, the increase in water intake should be gradual and spaced out, but water should not be withheld from the body. Salt intake should be limited for 2 or 3 days because the body is still in an overdrive mode to retain it. Once the edema has cleared, salt should again be added to the diet. If there are irregular heartbeats or the pulse is fast and furious, but there is no edema, increased water, salt, and other minerals such as magnesium, calcium, and some potassium will alleviate the problem.
So again, if naturally edema means that there is excessive salt in the body. So in this time, salt should be cut in the diet. So intake of salt needs to be controlled when you have edema.
Salt, some of its hidden miracles. Salt has many more important functions than just regulating the water content of the body. Salt is a strong natural antihistamine. It can be used to relieve asthma. Put it on the tongue after drinking a glass or 2 of water. It is as effective as an inhaler without the toxicity. You should drink 1 or 2 glasses of water before putting salt on the tongue. This type of salt use is only for emergencies. Normally, you should add it to food or to water before drinking it.
So this is important, right? Putting a little bit of salt on the tongue when you're getting really dehydrated increases the absorption of the water that you are drinking.
Salt is a strong anti-stress element for the body. Salt is vital for extracting excess acidity from inside the cells, particularly the brain cells. If you don't want Alzheimer's disease, don't go salt-free, and don't let them put you on diuretic medications for long.
So again, salt-free diets are not really good for us.
Salt is vital for the kidneys to clear excess acidity and pass the acidity into the urine. Without sufficient salt in the body will become more and more acidic. Salt is essential in the treatment of emotional and affective disorders. Lithium is a salt substitute that is used in the treatment of depression.
So again, it's better to have salt when you're depressed. It's a better medication. This is something that we can actually try because so many people are depressed.
Salt is essential for preserving the serotonin and melatonin levels in the brain. When water and salt perform their natural antioxidant duties and clear the toxic waste from the body, essential amino acids such as tryptophan and tyrosine will not be sacrificed as chemical antioxidants.
So again, these chemicals, tryptophan and etc., they are used to detoxify the body if enough water is not there and enough salt is not there. So when you have enough salt and water in the body system, then naturally these essential chemicals will be used to make the chemicals which are really required by the body and not act as a stopgap arrangement to reduce toxicity.
In a well-hydrated body, tryptophan is spared and gets into the brain tissue, where it is used to manufacture serotonin, melatonin, and tryptamine, essential antidepressant neurotransmitters.
So again, if tryptophan is used to clear the toxicity, then these chemicals will not be produced, and that will create more serious problems in the body system.
Salt, in my opinion, is vital for the prevention and treatment of cancer. Cancer cells are killed by oxygen. They are anaerobic organisms. They must live in a low oxygen environment. When the body is well hydrated and salt expands the volume of blood circulation to reach all parts of the body, the oxygen and the active and motivated immune cells in the blood reach the cancerous tissue and destroy it. As I have explained, dehydration, shortage of water and salt, suppresses the immune system and the activity of its disease-fighting cells in the body.
So again, if hydration is not there, the kachra removal, the waste management system of the body gets affected, which leads to an acidic environment, which leads to cancer forming.
Salt is vital for maintaining muscle tone and strength. Lack of bladder control and involuntary leakage of urine could be a consequence of low salt intake. The following letter from Dottley Reed in her 60s speaks volumes. It reveals how salt intake helped her get over a knee problem as well as constant involuntary leakage of urine. I have chosen to print this letter here to share with millions of senior citizens in America who might be on diuretics. The good news that adequate salt intake can possibly save them from the embarrassment of having to constantly wear pads. Dear Dr. Batman Village, June 25th, 1999, I had to go home from work because the pain in my knee became unbearable. This was an old wound years ago caused by a chiropractor that had been bruised again. I was staying in bed a lot as it was too painful to try to walk. I got your book and tapes, Your Body's Many Cries for Water. By July 3rd, 1999, I decided to try to walk around the block. I made it, and July 4th, 1999, I walked 6 blocks to church. On July 5th, 1999, I rode in the car for 7 hours, only stopping twice to use the restroom. I have a very weak bladder and had even taken spare clothing as I was sure they would be needed. I arrived with not a drop of anything on my clothing and for the first time in my life was not tired, and I even took a walk before I went to bed. I was very thin and was limited on what I could eat. Suddenly I find I am eating things I have not been able to eat in years. Peaches, cantaloupe, watermelon, tomatoes, pineapple, and even sweets, and I was enjoying them with no side effects. I had not been drinking anything but water for years, but I had talked myself off salt, a bad mistake. My muscles were really screaming, as well as many parts of my body. I still have problems to be worked out, but I'm learning how to listen to my own body, and I hope to see the day I won't have any more problems with gas, digestion, circulation, and allergies. I can truthfully say most days I do feel better than I have in many years, and I can never thank you enough for your help.
So again, salt intake is very important.
Salt can be very effective in stabilizing irregular heartbeats, and contrary to the misconception that it causes high blood pressure, is actually essential for the regulation of blood pressure, in conjunction with water and the minerals I have mentioned. Naturally, the proportions are critical. A low salt diet with high water intake will, in some people, actually cause the blood pressure to rise. The logic is simple. If you drink water and do not take salt, the water will not stay in the blood circulation adequately to completely fill all the blood vessels. In some, this will cause fainting. In others, it will cause tightening of the arteries to the point of registering a rise in blood pressure. 1 or 2 glasses of water and some salt, a little of it on the tongue, will quickly and efficiently quiet a racing and thumping heart, and in the long run will reduce the blood pressure. Talk with your doctor about the right balance of water and salt for your diet. Salt is vital for sleep regulation. It is a natural hypnotic. If you drink a full glass of water, then put a few grains of salt on your tongue and let it stay there, you will fall into a natural deep sleep. Don't use salt on your tongue unless you also drink water. Repeated use of salt by itself might cause nosebleeds. Routine intake of water and the addition of some salt to the diet will regulate the sleep pattern. Salt is a vitally needed element for diabetics. It helps balance the sugar levels in the blood and reduces the need for insulin in those who have to inject it to regulate their blood sugar levels. Water and salt can reduce the extent of secondary damage to the eyes and the blood vessels associated with diabetes.
So if salt is there, diabetes gets taken care of, and diabetes results in eye problems. So if the diabetes is taken care of, automatically the eyes also get taken care of.
Salt is vital for the generation of hydroelectric energy in all of the cells in the body. It is used for local power generation at the sites of energy need by the cells. Salt is vital to the communication and information processing of nerve cells the entire time that the brain cells work, from the moment of conception to death. Salt is vital for the absorption of food particles through the intestinal tract. Salt is vital for clearing the lungs of mucus plugs and sticky phlegm, particularly in asthma, emphysema, and cystic fibrosis sufferers.
So again, cleaning of the mucus, right? The mucus gets extracted when we have enough salt.
Salt on the tongue can help stop persistent dry coughs. Salt is vital for clearing up catarrh and sinus congestion. Salt can help in the prevention of gout and gouty arthritis. Salt is essential for preventing muscle cramps. Salt is vital in preventing excess saliva production to the point that it flows out of the mouth during sleep. Needing to constantly mop up excess saliva indicates a salt shortage.
So if someone is drooling at night, then you need to increase your salt intake.
Osteoporosis may be the result of a salt and water shortage in the body. Salt is absolutely vital to make the structure of bones firm. Salt can help you maintain self-confidence and a positive self-image. A serotonin and melatonin control personality output. Salt can help maintain libido. Salt may help reduce a dull chin. When the body is short of salt, it means the body really is short of water. The salivary glands sense the salt shortage and are obliged to produce more saliva to lubricate the act of chewing and swallowing, and also to apply the stomach with the water that it needs for the breaking down foods. Circulation to the salivary glands increases and the blood vessels become leaky. In order to supply the glands with more water to manufacture saliva, This leakiness spills to areas beyond the glands themselves, causing increased bulk under the skin of the chin and the cheeks and into the neck.
So again, if there is a water shortage, you need more water to digest the food, and that's why you produce more saliva, right? If there is a stress in the body, the water gets depleted in the body starts retaining it, and saliva will not form. So digestion gets very affected when you are stressed out, right? So over here, when we want to digest the food properly, we need to hydrate properly also.
Salt may help prevent varicose veins and spider veins on the legs and thighs. Sea salt contains about 80 mineral elements that the body needs. Some of these elements are needed in trace amounts. Unrefined sea salt is a better choice than other types of salt on the market.
This is something we already discussed.
Ordinary table salt that is bought in the supermarkets have been stripped of its companion elements and might contain additive elements such as aluminium silicate to keep it powdery and porous. Aluminium is a very toxic element in our nervous system. It has been implicated as one of the primary causes of Alzheimer's disease. Sea salt is not rich in iodine, which needs to be taken as a supplement. As much as salt is good for the body in asthma, excess potassium is bad for it. Too much orange juice, too many bananas, or any sports drink containing too much potassium might help precipitate an asthma attack, particularly if too much of the drink or too many bananas are taken before exercising. It can cause an exercise-induced asthma attack. To prevent such attacks, some salt intake before exercise will increase the lungs' capacity for air exchange. It will also decrease excess sweating.
Again, salt is good for the breathing process.
It is a good policy to add some salt to orange juice to balance the actions of sodium and potassium in maintaining the required volume of water inside and outside the cells. In some cultures, salt is added to melon and other fruits to accentuate their sweetness. In effect, these fruits contain mostly potassium. By adding salt to them before eating, a balance between the intake of sodium and potassium results. The same should be done to other juices.
So having juice neat may not be a good idea. We need to add some salt into it.
I received a call one day from one of my readers to tell me how he had unwittingly hurt his son. Knowing that orange juice was full of vitamin C, he forced his son to drink several glasses of it every day. The boy developed breathing problems and had a number of asthma attacks until he reached college and moved out of the sphere of influence of his father. His asthma then cleared and his breathing became normal. The father told me he had to call his son and apologize for having given him such a hard time when he was younger. The more the son had rebelled against orange juice, the more the father had insisted he should take it, convinced a large amount was good for him. As a rough rule of thumb, you need about 3 to 4 grams of salt a day for every 10 glasses of water you drink. 3 grams is about half teaspoon. An easier calculation is a quarter teaspoon of salt per quart of water. I know someone who takes more than a teaspoon of salt every day to control his asthma. You should take salt throughout the day. If you exercise and sweat, you need more salt. In hot climates, when you lose water from the surface of the skin without realizing it, you need to take even more salt. In these climates, salt can make the difference between survival and better health and heat exhaustion and death. Warning: at the same time, you must not overdo salt. You must observe the ratio of salt and water needs of the body. Always make sure you drink enough water to wash the excess salt out of the body. If your weight suddenly goes up in one day when you have not consumed too much food, You have taken too much salt. Hold back on salt intake for 1 day and drink plenty of water to increase your urine output and get rid of your swelling. Consult your doctor to determine the correct balance of salt and water for your diet. If you begin to drink water according to my protocol, you might also benefit from taking a 1 a day vitamin tablet daily, particularly if you do not exercise or eat hearty portions of vegetables and fruits. Meat and fish proteins are good sources of selenium and zinc. If you are under stress and until it is over, you might consider adding some vitamin B6 and zinc to your diet in addition to what is available in the vitamin tablets. If you suffer from cold sores, herpes simplex virus on the lips and even in the eyes, or genital herpes, make sure you add zinc and vitamin B6 to your diet. Your viral sores might very well be the result of zinc deficiency and its associated complications.
Again, zinc also becomes very important.
Chapter 14, Other Essentials for Health and Healing. While water, salt, and minerals are vital for optimal health, the nutrients we receive from foods we eat are also important, as if the need to stay fit through regular exercise. In this chapter, I will give a brief overview of the other essentials: proteins, fats, fruits, vegetables, sunlight, and exercise needed for optimal health and healing. Proteins. Many experts are of the opinion that the body needs a minimum of between 1.1 and 1.4 grams of good quality protein for every kilogram, 2.2 pounds of body weight per day. A 200-pound or 90 kg person thus needs about 4.5 ounces or 120 grams of protein a day to maintain muscle mass. At this level of protein intake, the body will retain its normal composition of protein reserves and will not break into them and deplete some of the amino acid reserves.
Again, protein is very important. Again, balanced diet, right? You need to have a balanced diet. That's the most important thing.
Children need a basic minimum of about 1 gram of protein for every pound of body weight. You must bear in mind that the protein portion of high protein foods varies from source to source. For example, an egg weighs about 50 grams and has only 6 grams of pure protein. Meat contains 7 grams of pure protein in every ounce. Hard cheeses contain about 7 grams of pure protein per ounce. Soft cheeses contain about 3 grams of pure protein per ounce. Tofu contains about 5 grams of pure protein per ounce. 1 ounce is 28.3 grams. In other words, not all the weight of the protein foods is pure protein.
So again, even protein foods, you'll get a part of it. You won't get the whole thing.
Stress and amino acids. It is my published opinion.
You missed one paragraph.
Sorry. In advanced societies that place high demands for increased productivity on their labor force and have no food shortages, the recommended regular intake of protein seems to be much higher. The more physically active you are, the more protein containing food your body needs. The extra protein is needed for tissue repairs and the manufacture of enzymes and neurotransmitters. High protein diets are now fashionable in weight loss programs.
So again, you have to be clear, right? What is the activity that you're doing and then regulate the protein intake.
Stress and amino acids. It is my published opinion that continued submissive endurance of stress depletes the body of certain absolutely essential amino acids, tryptophan, tyrosine, cysteine, and methionine in particular. These amino acids must be present in correct proportions for the body's main functions to take place in a coordinated manner. This is a part of what I mean by the regulation of the body as an integrated system. Let us see some aspects of what these amino acids mean to the body. Then we may understand the impact of stress and be alert to its main signals in the body.
So again, the balance of amino acids.
Before we get into the discussion of the individual amino acids, let me give you some basic information. There are 20 different amino acids from which proteins are made up. By selectively mixing the amino acids, some more than others, different proteins are manufactured. The manufactured proteins have different shapes and sizes and are three-dimensional structures that twist and rotate all the time.
So again, we get protein from the food and we get protein from these enzymes or amino acids, which are again converted into proteins. So if you don't have enough of protein in your diet, then the body will manufacture it, but to the detriment of something else.
During these twists and rotations, they present different facets that become attractive to their chemically predetermined partners, and a desired response is generated when they unite or have an effect on each other. It is from the sum total of these desired responses that life and actions of all living matter come into being.
So again, a partner, right? A spouse, someone you're attracted to, someone you can work with. Okay, it's all depending on these amino acids actually.
The food that we eat provides not only some of the energy needed to function, but also some of the basic amino acids as raw materials for protein production. In more dilute solutions, the proteins and enzymes of the body develop a greater movement and rotational freedom and become more efficient in finding and coupling with their chemical partners. Thus, dehydration can cause the slowing of these natural movements and could be responsible for the slowing of body reactions and loss of certain sensations. As we grow older and become more dehydrated,
So it is said, right, that as we age, the amount of water that is in our body starts to shrink. That's why you'll find many old people, they actually just they shrink, and then the body, the skin starts to hang, etc. Right. So at any age, we need to hydrate and keep ourselves hydrated. As we age, the third response that is generated by the body when you're feeling thirsty it's put off, right? It loses its veracity. So that's why when you're old, you need to force yourself and be aware that you need to drink water. It's very, very important for maintaining health.
the human body can manufacture 12 of the 20 amino acids from other raw materials, but needs to import into the system 8 of them to be able to manufacture the complete range of its protein and neurotransmitter needs. These imports are called essential amino acids. Without them and in exact sufficiency at that, the body will not function. I use the words exact sufficiency to indicate that more is not better.
So always enough, right? If more is there, it's a problem. If less is there, it's a problem. So never overdo anything.
Just because these amino acids are essential does not mean we should load the body with them. This attitude is dangerous. The rate of assimilation of one amino acid depends on the presence of the others in proportionate amounts. The excess presence of one can have a disruptive effect and alter the metabolism rate of the others. So beware of buying amino acids that are manufactured and sold by the bottle.
So again, manufactured amino acids may not really be a good idea because you really don't know what's in it.
The essential amino acids are isoleucine, leucine, lysine, methionine, phenylalanine, threonine, tryptophan, and valine. Since triosine is manufactured from phenylalanine and cysteine is manufactured from methionine, triosine and cysteine should also be considered essential amino acids. There are limits to the rate of manufacture of arginine and histidine in the young and the old. So, in a sense, these amino acids are also to be considered essential. In effect, there are 12 essential amino acids that the body needs to import at various stages of its development if its normal functions are to be guaranteed. I will deal with only a few of them to explain some aspects of the metabolism disturbance in chronic dehydration and stress.
When you're
Tryptophan,
stressed out, metabolism will get affected.
tryptophan is an essential amino acid that is highly sensitive to heat. It spins at a much faster rate when the temperature of the body rises even a few degrees. It seems to respond to the heat of activation produced by water. It performs certain functions more efficiently when there is more water in the body, particularly when water is essential to activate the hydroelectric pump units in the cell membrane and generate energy and heat. The mechanism involved in the passage of tryptophan through the wall of the blood vessels of the brain is complicated. However, the consistency of blood on the dilute side enormously helps the passage of tryptophan into the brain and the centers of its activity. Tryptophan gives rise to neurotransmitter agent serotonin, along with its deputies tryptamine and melatonin.
So serotonin is, like the joy hormone. It's the master hormone. Okay. So that it becomes very important for the body. And if tryptophan cannot get into the brain for it to manufacture that, it can cause serious issues. Lack of serotonin and melatonin is one of the major causes of depression also.
Tryptophan also has a natural role in recognizing and repairing damaged, unnatural, and inexact DNA structures. DNA is the material at the center of recreation of life from one living matter into another. The secrets of recreation are held in the DNA content of the body. Its correct representation is essential to give rise to the next generation, be it the daughter cell in an organ or the next generation offspring. It is my view that cancer cells are daughter cells that have transformed into faulty new cells because the DNA repair system has become inadequate due to a breakdown in the tryptophan regulatory process.
So again, if the DNA is not, copied properly, that is when the problems start happening.
Dr. Javed Iqbal, a world-recognized cancer researcher who lives in England, has studied the scientific explanations for the above statement. After much scrutiny, he has accepted the validity of the concept and has written a number of articles that can be viewed in the section on science on the website www.watercure.com. It has now been recognized that tryptophan forms a tripod team with 2 units of lysine, another amino acid, and forms an enzyme that acts as the quality controller on the DNA assembly line. It seems that tryptophan projection of the enzyme is responsible for cutting and repairing any damaged site in the DNA assembly.
So the repair and maintenance of DNA.
As far as the brain is concerned, as soon as tryptophan reaches the brain side of the circulation, it becomes converted into the various neurotransmitters. Research seems to indicate that almost all of the problems of the human body become established when the rate of entry of tryptophan to the brain centers that use the neurotransmitter derivatives of tryptophan is negatively affected. My research indicates a direct relationship between the level of water in the body and the rate of tryptophan transfer across the blood-brain barrier. In dehydration, less tryptophan gets across. The level of tryptophan entry into the brain determines the intensity of the pain sensation. When there is less tryptophan, the pain sensation registers more intensely.
This is interesting, right? Tryptophan is, pain management is a huge thing, right? And you have so many medications just to manage pain, but this can be managed very well simply with tryptophan. So when the body relaxes, the blood is flowing better. That's what we find with Hemisync also. Pain management becomes easier when you're using Hemisync, right? Because it relaxes your body. And then I think this blood-brain barrier allowing tryptophan to get into the brain, because the brain is in a relaxed state itself, becomes much easier.
In stress dehydration, more tryptophan in its free form is released from the reserves of the body. The liver has a metering system for free tryptophan. When it reaches a certain level, the liver begins to recycle and destroy it and finally discard its byproducts.
Shivamala, you missed a paragraph.
With increased tryptophan getting into the brain, the pain sensation decreases until it disappears. The relationship of the thirst signal in the body to the feeling of pain associated with thirst seems to indicate a decrease in tryptophan entry into the brain. In this way, the pain associated with a certain level of dehydration beyond the threshold of rationing the available water and adaptation to chronic dehydration explains the way pain registers when there is dehydration.
So when there is more dehydration, you feel more pain in the body. Again, because the waste management and things are stuck, enough nutrients are not reaching the cells. So naturally, pain thresholds get increased.
In stress dehydration, more tryptophan in its free form is released from the reserves of the body. The liver has a metering system for free tryptophan. When it reaches a certain level, the liver begins to recycle and destroy it and finally discard its byproducts. This is a very drastic way of getting rid of an essential amino acid. It has to be done. However, because in its free form, tryptophan is used in other capacities, such as in a substitute cleaning process when water is not available to wash away the toxic waste.
So instead of being used to create essential chemicals in the body, it becomes like a waste management system. So naturally, those chemicals which needed to be produced will not be produced.
When used in this way, stress-initiated breakdown of tryptophan can deplete the reserves of this most essential amino acid in the body. It is to prevent this event that in any form of stress, you should immediately begin to drink copious amounts of water. This is why dehydration causes stress, and stress precipitates so many disease conditions in the body.
So today, if you see anything, right, any disturbance that is there in your system, whether it be physical, emotional, mental, or external, right, it's all related to stress and your ability to manage stress. If you can manage your stress properly, most of the things get taken care of. There are two more paragraphs.
This is why dehydration causes stress, and stress precipitates so many disease conditions in the body. Tryptophan is involved in the formation of the color of the iris of the eye. It acts as filter to intense light and ultraviolet rays that might damage the retina. Another important effect of tryptophan on proper metabolism is in muscle movement. Large muscles of the body demonstrate an avid metabolism for the branched chain amino acids valine, leucine, and isoleucine, 3 of the 22 20 amino acids in the body. During exercise and movement of the large muscle mass, these 3 amino acids are used up for their energy content. They also compete with tryptophan for passage across the blood-brain barrier and entry to the brain. Unless tryptophan enters into the brain tissue, a state of calm and peace will not prevail. The importance of exercise, walking at least 1 hour a day, cannot be stressed enough. It is as a result of burning these competitors of tryptophan by the muscle tissue that a well-regulated physiology in the body can be established. Tyrosine is another most important and responsible amino acid in the human body. It is the base material for the manufacture of adrenaline and noradrenaline, the neurotransmitters that coordinate the action-oriented functions of the body. Tyrosine is also essential for the manufacture of the neurotransmitter dopamine, of the thyroid hormones, and of the skin pigment called melanin, the suntan pigment. This amino acid is also critical for the composition of certain essential proteins, including the insulin receptor. In stress, the enzyme that breaks up tyrosine becomes excessively activated. If the enzyme is allowed to continue its run on the body's reserve of tyrosine beyond the rate of its manufacture, certain essential functions become severely affected. Tyrosine and tryptophan seem to be excessively destroyed when there is dehydration or stress in the body.
So again, dehydration and stress is the cause of most of the issues that we actually have. We can stop here.